Ashley. What's up, Ashley? It's good to see you.
Talk to me, first of all, the reason I wanted to interview you is because design thinking is, I'm very interested in, and I know that Somersault does that. So first of all, give a little background of who you are and what Somersault is, and then we'll get into it. So
sure.
Give me the 30-second pitch.
All right, so I'm the co-founder of Somersault Innovation with Justin Jones. Somersault Innovation is a boutique consultancy that we're teachers and coaches of design thinking, which I'll tell you about.
Yep.
And we're taking, also one of the unique things we're doing is taking the tools from design thinking and sticking it into the sales environment to enhance revenue generation.
All right, cool. So now the premise of this is, what is design thinking? Because I think I have a good handle on it, but I know I don't. So give me, what is design thinking, and then let's talk about how design thinking applies to sales.
Okay. So design thinking is, I think of it as three things.
Okay.
It's a process, it's a set of tools that you use in that process, and then it's a set of mindsets.
Okay.
And the mindsets, first of all, are empathy, curiosity, customer centricity, and agility.
Okay.
And those sort of those are underpinnings of anything you're doing in design. You're always thinking that way. So what design thinking is a process that starts with the customer and what does the customer desire, and then think about what's feasible or reasonable for your company, or how you're going to make the most amount of money for your company. First, start with what does the customer desire, derive some insights about unmet needs or motivations about your customer, and then take that as your inspiration for what you create.
So let's talk about real world examples of design thinking, and then we'll talk about sales. So like Apple.
Yes.
So give me some examples like that I would, my iPhone.
Your Apple mouse.
Okay.
Was created in a design thinking process.
Okay.
So what we do all the time, companies all over the place do, is like, oh, I've got a great idea. John Barrows is going to love this. I'm going to make this thing, and he's going to love it. And maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Sure.
A design thinker would say, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's just watch John work at his computer and see what he does and how does he interact with his computer. And then let's watch a few other interesting groups, and we're going to start to see that one of their interests or their unmet needs is XYZ. You're looking for patterns and themes about what's interesting. And then from there, what Apple did is say, like, well, hold on a second. There's something interesting here. What if we created this to support how John works and make it more efficient?
So instead of like Microsoft forcing me to use the trackball and format this, it's, hey, like, I'd rather just kind of scroll my own way.
Yeah, and I'm watching you, and you're kind of doing that, and I'm picking this up from a number of people, and then I build whatever I create based on what I understand is desirable for my customer.
So now how do we, from a sales, so I'm going to talk about what you currently are focusing on, because I can totally understand like a field enterprise sales rep experiencing something. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
But then I want to talk about also like the people that I usually deal with, which are like the inside sales reps and how they can use it. So talk to me about kind of the I'm going after a huge account, CVS.
Okay,
great.
Let's use CVS. Okay, so what we're doing in sales is we're saying, if I think about design thinking as like a scratch kitchen of all these ingredients, we're saying, what can we borrow from this scratch kitchen? What ingredients can we throw onto field reps that are going to transform how they sell? We're not saying use a whole design thinking process. We're saying, what can we borrow from that you can use? So the biggest thing we borrow from design thinking is this understanding of understand who your customer is and who your customer's customer is, and figure out what they care about. So let's say CVS is your account. So many times what sales reps do is they get online, they look at the 10K, they look at LinkedIn, they do all their due diligence, they've read all the analyst reports. And what we're saying is, like, that's good. Do your due diligence. You can't skip that step. But now I want you, particularly CVS, that's easy. We want you to go, right? Go to CVS, be a customer, be what we call fly on the wall, and just watch how customers engage. Talk to somebody who works there and start to think about, like, just be curious about them and their business, and forget about what you're selling. I always say, leave your sales force backpack at home with all your wares, like, forget about it. As Justin would say, they don't give a hot damn about your cloud services.
No, they do not.
So just be curious, and from that curiosity, you can start to pick up interesting insights about what's meaningful, what perhaps they're missing, what customers are saying.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, CVS cares what their customers are saying.
yeah.
So if you can deliver something interesting about what customers are saying, it's going to change the nature of the conversation, which is the only thing we're looking to do right now.
Okay, so does it start though with, we talk all this at this conference, account-based marketing, account-based selling, and all of that starts with that ideal customer profile.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, first of all, how do you identify? Like CVS is a good client, because sometimes I could see like some reps being like I got shit to sell CVS,
Yeah.
I don't know, like I don't care how empathetic I am with them, I got nothing to offer them.
Yeah.
So what's the process you walk people through? Do you walk into companies that tend to, or do you help them identify what that ideal customer profile looks like and then what to look for?
No.
Okay.
So we are sort of company or account agnostic.
Okay, cool.
So it could be B2B, it could be B2C. All we're saying is, at the end of the day, you need to be creative and curious.
Okay.
And start to think about the ecosystems of customers that surround your target.
Yep.
And try to get as close as you can to figuring out what they care about and value. And we give you a slew of things to look for.
Okay, cool. Like what?
So we say, and this is again borrowing from design, we're saying look for surprises. So when you see something that surprises you, like, I'll give you an example in a minute.
Yep.
Actually, if you see something that surprises you, instead of just like, oh, and keep going, like double down. Like, tell me more about that. Like, why did you do that? I wouldn't have done that. Tell me more. Look for hacks or workarounds. What are people doing to get around the system because it doesn't work for them?
Okay.
We're very creative, right? We do things all the time. And that's a clear clue to an unmet need.
Totally,
People see, like this guy went into Sports Center and he was talking to the sales guy there who worked there. It was a store, and he saw that he had all these stickies on his computer, and that's how he was keeping track of leads. Okay, so that's a hack,
totally.
right? So that's interesting. So tell me more about that. Why do you do that? Why don't you use a system? You don't have a system, or your system doesn't work.
All right.
So you look for hacks or workarounds, and then you look for what do people value. Like everybody at let's say you're going to CVS, and the aisle with the snacks that are chocolate covered blueberries are all missing because everybody's buying them out. Like that's interesting. There's something there that people value. Again, double down and find out more about that.
Okay, cool. So now talk to me about I could totally see Bank of America is my account, CVS is my account, I'm a major account sales rep at Salesforce or any one of these companies. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Help me understand how the 23-year-old kid who does, because I train what you talked about, which is do your homework, 10K, look for the triggers, look for the information, look at their websites, and that is kind of way better than just blasting out a template email. But how would a rep look for empathetic, look for empathy at scale?
Or be empathetic.
Your better way to put it is be empathetic at scale.
Yeah, okay, right. So these BDRs, they're making 90 calls a day.
Yes.
So how the hell are they doing this?
Yes.
So one thing we talk about is just this flip in your mindset.
Okay.
Flip in your mindset of being customer-centric versus me-centric, right? One guy said to us the other day, wait a second, this is like sell by design, meaning sell by the designing for your customer versus selfish by design.
Okay.
Right?
Like
it's not about me, it's about them.
I like that.
So look for things that are about them versus that they care about and that are sort of, I was thinking of like it's a little closer to them than an analyst report, like customer sat reviews, for example, or like, get on Glassdoor. What are all the employees saying? So so my first thing is just change your mindset. That just might change some of the actions of what you're looking for. 2, you may decide that like I want to go deeper on a few accounts because I'm interested or it feels easier, and the rest I'm just going to continue to do my thing. So this one woman BDR we worked with had Six Flags. So she downloaded the loyalty app and then also got on Instagram and started playing around with like, well, where's the best ride coming out right now? And realized that there was this huge fan base of Six Flags people, and that this new ride came out and these fans didn't know. So that's interesting information. So she just needed, that took, not too long. And so then she was able to contact them and say, hey, did you know XYZ?
Nice.
That's just meaningful. A way to engage somebody that's different.
Like it. And that's like, so I think, because that to me is always scale, right? People talk about account-based marketing, and I'm telling them, like, people say, oh, everybody, no, you don't have to do account-based marketing if you're SMB. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not feasible to come up with a strategy about 5,000 accounts in your territory. So to your point of tiering things out, focusing on a certain subset of them
Yeah.
and actually giving a shit,
Yeah.
as opposed to just blasting out whatever. So I think that's probably my takeaway, which kind of ties to what I train reps on, is structure.
Yeah.
Right? Of saying, okay, let's just pick a few.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
try it out.
because what happens is, my experience is that mindset shift translates.
That's right.
You start to, it starts to translate into the other ones,
Yeah.
and then you start to see a much more. I always say, I talk about a sales rep. I call it catching your sales groove. It's when it's like sales is hard for a while, and all of a sudden one day it kind of just clicks. And that day, it's when you stop pitching your solutions and you start having conversations
Yeah.
about your solutions. You start caring more about the client's needs than you do about your commission checks.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that's when your commission checks
That's
start going
right.
through.
That's
So design
totally
thinking is the
same
same thing,
thing.
right?
Same
It's like
thing.
once you stop thinking about, I got to hit my quota.
That's right.
And it's so hard for a rep to do
That's
that
right.
because I think we're getting pushed into this. We're
Yeah.
still in this world of getting monthly,
Slammed.
quarterly
Yeah.
things. But it's so funny how once you genuinely make that
Yeah.
switch about how things, like for me, negotiations is so much easier now for me because I always talk about how the number one thing that you can do to help with negotiations is prospect.
Yeah.
Big fat pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I turn down more business than I bring on.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I call closing technique is a walkaway close.
Yeah.
The psychology behind a
Yeah,
walkaway
yeah.
close is bananas.
Yeah. Like,
'Cause
I'm
it's-
sorry, I don't have time for you.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
what, you're not a good fit for
yeah,
us. And
right.
as soon as that
Like,
happens, and you're genuine about
Yeah,
it, you're like,
yeah,
look, no,
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're not a good fit here.
Yeah.
The client's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And they almost like force you
Yeah.
to do business with
Yeah,
them. It's
I
like a
know.
weird cycle.
I know.
It's the same thing.
I
It
learned
sounds like
that
it's the same
early
thing
on.
with design thinking, right? Whereas like when you make that shift, now all of a sudden it's like your eyes
It's
open
open
up.
and just like you
start-
see the world a whole different way. I love this guy said to me, he said, wait a second, you're teaching me to fall in love with my customer,
Nice.
not the other way around.
There you
Like
go.
instead of trying to make them love me, if I put myself in their shoes
Yep.
and really empathize
Yeah.
and fall in love with them, then that connection is genuine and I really do want to help you.
Absolutely. Well, and that's really ultimately to me what sales is, like true sales
Yes.
is helping people.
Yeah.
Like I will say this to the day I die, like if you're in sales just to make a buck,
Yeah.
fuck out of
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
Like you're the one who's given us
Yeah.
all a bad name,
Yeah.
right? We're here to make the connections. Like you have a problem,
Yeah.
I have a solution that makes a difference, and I'm putting these together because I want to help.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it for that
Yeah.
reason, you shouldn't be in
That's
sales.
right,
So,
absolutely.
very cool. Awesome. Well, this was a great conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you
sure,
so much.
of
It's a pleasure.
course.
Always great seeing you. Thanks. Cool. Thanks, man. That was cool.